It's Tuesday, October 22. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Climate change action was the focus of Prime Minister Andrew Holness's Heroes Day message for 2019. Mr. Holness pointed to the fact that parts of our heritage, or biodiversity and ecosystems, are under threat from our individual actions, such as improperly disposing of waste and poor farming methods, as well as overfishing or marine stocks.
We readily understand the value of our natural heritage when we are complimented on the beauty of our island, our white sand beaches, and welcoming warm weather. We come to an even greater understanding when we consider that our tourism product and the economic activity around it heavily depends on our environment and climate.
He also highlighted extreme swings between flood and drought conditions and the effects of coastal erosion and storm surges.
Research confirms that average global temperatures are rising. In Jamaica, when we examine our annual rainfall, there are more extreme swings between flood and drought conditions than there were in decades before. Coastal erosion and storm surges are more evident. The frequency and intensity of storms and hurricanes have increased, and the temperature of our hottest days is rising. These are all evidence of the impact of climate change on our environment.
The Prime Minister said the government is committed to implementing policies designed to mitigate and adapt to the effects of climate change while building economic and financial resilience. Jamaica is actively participating in several global oceans initiatives. Locally, work is being done to safeguard the environment. Mr. Holness is urging Jamaicans to do their part.
It can be a great inconvenience to keep the plastic bottle until you find a bin, rather than throwing it out on the street side or in the gully. But we must change our behavior. Turning off lights and appliances when not in use can take some effort, but consider how much less oil and gas would be needed if every household conserved on electricity and water.
Prime Minister Holness said those who continue to preserve, protect, and promote our heritage today are national heroes. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips, in his National Heroes Day message, said the day presented an opportunity for us to recognize and celebrate our cultural heritage and to pay tribute to all who have contributed to Jamaica's cultural, economic, and political foundations. The opposition leader congratulated those nominated for this year's national honors and awards for service to country.
They, like the thousands of ordinary Jamaican citizens from all walks of life, help to maintain Jamaica's fine traditions of nation building. They give their time, energy, and effort to help build our nation.
Dr. Phillips also noted other Jamaicans giving service in neighborhood watch groups, youth clubs, citizens associations, and community development committees.
The members of the security forces also put their lives at risk and work extraordinarily long hours, often without the necessary resources, as they make their effort to serve and protect the public. Our health workers too, who every day are operating in the most challenging environment, strive to deliver effective health care to Jamaica, despite often substandard facilities.
He also urged Jamaicans to honor our heroes and heroines by emulating the qualities which define them.
Our national heroes have collectively provided the example and inspiration which has enabled us to come this far as a country. We must never squander any of these rights which we now enjoy.
Dr. Phillips said Jamaicans must protect their heritage and strengthen it so as to pass on to future generations a legacy that is even more enriched and inspired. Renowned Jamaican scientist Professor Gerald Layla led the list of 215 Jamaicans who received national honors and awards for service to country at the annual ceremony on National Heroes Day, Monday, October 21. Professor Layla received the third highest national honor, the Order of Merit, for his contribution to local and international development in science, technology and innovation, and service across the private and public sectors. Among the 5 recipients of the Order of Jamaica, the 5th highest national honor, are Dr. Julius Garvey, son of Jamaica's first national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for distinguished contribution in universal civil activism. Jamaica Boilers Group Chairman Robert Levy was awarded for outstanding service in agriculture and philanthropy. Alpharita Rita Marley was recognized for her contribution to the popularization of Jamaican music. 39 Jamaicans were awarded for their contribution to nation building in the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander. Among the 39 persons to receive the Order of Distinction in the rank of officer was television, stage and film actor Glenn Titus Campbell for his more than 38 years of outstanding contribution to local theatre and mentoring. Former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson is now resting at home after being released from hospital. He underwent a surgical operation at the Tony Thwaites wing of the University Hospital of the West Indies after suffering knee and hip injuries in a motor vehicle accident at his home. Mr. Patterson remains under the direction of a medical team which has recommended a strict visitor policy to ensure that his recuperation is not compromised. The University of the West Indies has improved its position on the Times High Education Rankings for 2020. Vice-Chancellor of the U.W.I, Professor Hilary Beckles, says the U.W.I has retained its #1 spot for the Caribbean region from its debut in 2019 ranking. It has also moved up to the top 2% of universities in the Latin American and Caribbean region from its previous top 3% ranking last year. The scores for its global rankings also improved, moving from the top 5% to the top 4% of ranked universities. Professor Beckles credited the improvement in part of UWI's 5-year strategic plan. The Times Higher Education ranking comprises over 200 registered universities in the Caribbean and over 28,000 registered universities globally. The Electoral Commission of Jamaica, ECJ, will participate in a global training program on ways to engage young and future voters in the electoral process. The ECJ said 3 of its staff members will embark on the 2-week training course entitled Approaches to Encourage Political Participation of Prospective Voters from October 22 to November 1 in Korea. The program, facilitated by the Association of World Election Bodies, will focus on effectively reaching potential voters and engaging them in the decisions that will shape their future. The training is also aimed at equipping election officials with the skills to overcome challenges faced in executing voter education programs. The United States will soon begin collecting DNA samples from asylum-seekers and other migrants detained by immigration officials. The samples will reportedly be added to the FBI database used by law enforcement hunting for criminals. The Justice Department issued amended regulations that would mandate DNA collection for almost all migrants who cross between official entry points and are held even temporarily. The official said the rules would not apply to legal permanent residents or anyone entering the U.S. legally. Children under 14 are exempt. Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw says the government will resume its program to combat frosty pod rot, a disease which affects the cocoa plant. The name comes from the most easily identified symptom, which is a white fungal growth on the outside of the cocoa fruit. The highly contagious disease, which affects the fruit of the cocoa plant, has been impacting Jamaica since 2016. And more than $14.3 million worth of supplies comprising 28 black water tanks, irrigation fixtures, hoses, bags of fertilizer and seeds will be given to 47 farmers in Flagman, St. Elizabeth. They suffered losses during a fire in August. In addition, the farmers have been provided with more than 30 truckloads of guinea grass to be used for mulching. Approximately 200 acres of farmland were razed by fire, which resulted in losses estimated at $45 million. In regional news, Trinidad's opposition, United National Congress, UNC, has distanced itself from the alleged assassination plot against the country's Attorney General. Trinidad's Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, reportedly linked opposition operatives to the plot at a public meeting. Opposition leader Campbell has labeled the claims of the plot Email Gate 2. She calls the allegations a last-ditch desperate attempt to try and win the upcoming general election.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is actively investigating the threat on the life of TNT's Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi, and that threat was made within the past 3 months. Police Commissioner Gary Griffith tells TV6 News the police are making leads on the plot and are investigating not just the person contracted to make the hit, but also the mastermind planning, funding and ordering the act. The public first learned of the plot when the PM took to the podium at his party's post-budget discussion in Belmont on Friday evening, warning the country and his supporters of dirty tactics and desperate attacks. He questioned if there were any who doubt National Security Minister Stuart Young's claim that the opposition was in contact with known criminals.
Let me remind all of you that somebody somewhere in this country killed Selwyn Richardson, and up to this day, that matter has not been solved.
The PM recalled the attacks he faced while he was opposition leader.
One of the things they did, before I was married, I had a child with a girl in Tobago. UNC operatives went to that woman and offered her money to go on affidavit to say I had raped her.
Dr. Rowley said when attempts to assassinate his character failed, attempts were made on his life.
The first killer refused and determined that somebody has to know this, and went and told a government official. The government official came and told us. We told the police.
The second attempt, he says, was made to contract someone to complete the job.
While we're dealing with that, they went and found another one. He too refused. And by this time, Special Branch was involved, and Special Branch knew about it.
Contacted today, Commissioner Griffith recalled when threats to then opposition leader Dr. Rowley's life were made. He says, quote, I was then Minister of National Security. I recall intensifying his security detail, and closer to the election, even that was heightened, end quote. Around that same time, sources suggest 2 other threats were made on the lives of a now sitting minister and a high-profile member of the PNM. Pointing to the 27 threats made to his own life, Commissioner Griffith says police must determine if threats are idle, if they are individual rants, or if they are orchestrated and deliberate. He says, quote, we are taking threats going into the election campaign very seriously. We will ensure there is proper policing. I've requested from parties listings of dates, times and venues of the events to ensure there is a police presence, end quote.
In this week's Newsline Health, students in Belize get a lesson in good hygiene, and a Trinidad charity highlights the need to focus on individuals suffering with breast cancer rather than just the disease.
As we know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Indeed, across the world, the campaign to raise awareness of the disease has been successful. But how much attention is paid to the actual patients and the way they are perceived by society? One charity in Trinidad is seeking to change that.
We have a culture, and we have to acknowledge it, of being curious. Sometimes we're curious in a cruel kind of way too, where we might have known that a woman had surgery, and we might start looking at her with more critical eyes, and she does feel uncomfortable. We have to change those lenses.
Founder and CEO of Miss Brafit Limited, Nicole Joseph Chin, also wants greater consideration to be given to the economic impact of cancer.
Many times we don't think of cancer in the workplace and how it influences and impacts on productivity and how productivity can be declined and how that can actually impact on a national productivity level and a gross domestic product. We don't look at the economics of cancer.
Students in Belize have been learning more about proper hygiene. It was part of the observance of International Infection Prevention Week, which was held under the theme, Vaccines Are Everybody's Business. Infection control nurse Lourdes Heredia stressed that prevention is always the first defense. And according to her, it starts with hand hygiene.
Hand hygiene means cleaning your hands as often as possible.
In sports, we sprint off with the multi-Olympic and world champion Veronica Campbell Brown, VCB. VCB has been honored with a statue in her likeness beside sporting great Merlin Ottey inside Independence Park. Veronica Campbell Brown won her first Olympic medal in 2000 as part of Jamaica's silver medal winning women's 4x100 meters relay team that included Merlin Ottey. The statue, sculpted by Basil Watson, is the third in a set of 4 commissioned by the Ministry of Sport to honor the nation's sprint legends. Statues of Usain Bolt and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce have already been mounted. The 4th statue to be completed is dedicated to Asafa Powell. Over now to cricket. Newly appointed West Indies Test captain Keron Pollard says he won't be standing by and allowing insularity in selection during his tenure. He says performance, not nationality, will determine the composition of his team.
What we spoke about is the insularity that has been going on in the Caribbean, and it's something that we want to put a stamp out of. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the islands you're from. Once your performance is there, you fit into the dynamics of the team, you fit into what we are looking for, you're going to be selected. Sometimes it veer towards where you're from is unfortunate as maybe a home captain or coach or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, we will try to pick the best team. And me knowing myself, how I go about things, and it's something that I've been preaching since the franchise system started in the Caribbean T20, when before the CPL, that the bigger picture is the cricket. And whichever persons are doing well, they're going to be selected. And I have it within myself in terms of my principle and my sort of integrity to always go out and try to pick the best players, no matter what part of the island they're from.
He will oversee his first assignment next month when West Indies take on Afghanistan in India in 3 T20 internationals and 3 one-day internationals. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sports right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.